I don't even know where to start. I've never posted on Reddit before. I mostly built the machine, not bared my soul on it. But here I am. Guess even billionaires bleed. I'm 34. I married Priscilla, 38F, almost a decade ago. We met in college, one of those sweethearts against the odds stories. I was the hoodie-wearing dropout coding in his dorm. She was pre-med, laser-focused and serious. The media loved to paint us as the tech power couple. Me with the algorithms, her with the philanthropy. Perfect on paper. But paper doesn't show the cracks. It started small. She used to ask about my day, even if it involved rambling about neural networks or some new privacy protocol we were testing in Menlo Park. Lately, she'd glaze over mid-sentence. Not in a "I've heard this before" kind of way, but in a "you're a burden" kind of way. Her compliments got transactional. You looked confident in that conference today, finally. That finally stung more than I'll admit. And then there was her phone. She used to leave it anywhere. Bathroom counter, kitchen table. Lately, it was glued to her hand. I'm not proud of what I did next, but when you've designed software to predict human behavior at scale, you start seeing behavioral anomalies everywhere. Something was off. Something was wrong. And the worst part? I started thinking like an engineer. Like a damn product manager in my own marriage. I logged into our home server. Not Facebook. Not Meta. Just the internal logs for the smart home system I installed myself. It tracks everything. Voice commands, door access, even guest Wi-Fi usage. And that's when I noticed it. A device tagged as David's iPhone. Connected at 2:12 a.m. on a Thursday. The same Thursday, I was in Switzerland meeting with regulators about AI safety. David? We don't have a David. And this wasn't the first time he'd connected. So, David's iPhone. That was the first thread. I did what any sane man would do. Okay, maybe not sane, maybe just obsessed. I pulled the last 30 days of smart home logs. Every device ping, camera trigger, voice assistant activation. You name it. I built this system with full-stack paranoia. I wanted convenience, sure, but also control. That irony is not lost on me now. David's iPhone showed up 6 different times. Late at night. Always when I was out of town. Each visit lasted between 3 to 7 hours. Never overnight. Never long enough to leave a trace. Except this one time. Our entry camera caught a blur at 2:11 a.m., hoodie up, head down, walking with the gait of someone comfortable with the layout of our home. Not stumbling. Not hesitant. I watched the footage 3 times, then noticed a detail that nearly made me vomit. He used my side door code. Priscilla denied ever sharing the security codes with anyone, not even her sister. So I did what I should have done earlier. I checked the facial recognition logs. The system had misclassified him as me. Why? Because he wore my old hoodie. The one I stopped wearing 3 years ago and thought she had given to Goodwill. Suddenly, everything made sense and nothing made sense. Was she cheating on me? Was she stupid enough to bring some guy into our house? Or was she cruel enough to make sure he wore my clothes when he did? I didn't say anything. Not yet. I wanted to see how far she'd go. That Friday, I came home early from a trip to D.C., told her I'd had to cancel meetings due to a Senate committee reshuffle, which, honestly, happens all the time. She seemed surprised, not panicked, but her body tensed. "Oh, you're home," she said. No hug, no kiss. She started tucking her phone under her leg on the couch. That was new. I smiled and offered to order sushi from that place she likes in Palo Alto. She nodded, distracted, fingers texting someone at lightning speed. That night, I cloned her phone. Yes, I know. Gross. Illegal. Hypocritical. But I was a husband before I was a CEO. And something inside me snapped. So yeah, I cloned her phone. Technically, I used a wireless sync backup for the home server. Nothing too exotic. I didn't need spyware. Just access. I had root permissions on our local network, and thanks to a bug she never updated on her phone. Ironic, considering how many times I nag her about software patches, the mirror kicked in within minutes. I sat in the garage, in my Tesla, watching her iMessages populate. It was like watching my own murder in slow motion. There he was. David. The first message that popped up. Still wearing his hoodie. You said it drives him crazy, face with ears of joy. Then, he suspects anything yet? And finally, can't wait until you're free. He's more of a robot than a man anyway. My hands went cold. I stared at the screen until the text blurred. The timestamps told a bigger story. This had been going on for at least 6 months. Dozens of messages. Inside jokes. Photos, nothing explicit, but suggestive enough. What gutted me wasn't even the betrayal. It was how she talked about me. Like I was a lab experiment gone wrong. A malfunctioning toaster. No anger. No guilt. Just detached mockery. I scrolled further. She told him she regretted settling with me. That the money was nice, but she missed being with a man who didn't try to optimize intimacy like an algorithm. That one stuck with me. Because she wasn't wrong. I had tried to make love more efficient. Scheduled it. Tracked it. Tried to understand her preferences through literal spreadsheets. I thought I was being thoughtful. Turns out, I was automating her resentment. Still, she didn't deserve to burn down our marriage with David. Who the hell was David anyway? The answer came in a photo. He wasn't just some dude. He was a former meta contractor. Worked in our Reality Labs division 2 years ago. He came to one of our garden parties. I shook his hand. I remember him saying, "Big fan, man. The work you're doing with the metaverse, it's visionary." I had no idea he'd be laying pipe in the same house 3 years later. The worst part? Once I connected the dots, I realized I'd actually hosted this clown. I threw a holiday dinner last December, very private, just a handful of close staff and personal guests. Priscilla had insisted we invite a few fresh minds from the company. To keep the room balanced, she said. I agreed. Always good to keep the culture grounded, right? David was there. I even remember the toast he gave. The smug bastard raised a glass to visionaries who forget to look at what's real. Everyone laughed. Even I laughed. I thought it was clever. Turns out, he was toasting to my obliviousness. Looking back, I remember how Priscilla touched his wrist when she passed him the wine. How he lingered just a second too long at the door when he thanked her for an unforgettable evening. I thought it was just bad manners. It was a declaration. That weekend, I couldn't sleep. I'd go from rage to shame to straight-up existential dread. I couldn't believe the woman I built a life with, a foundation, a family plan, a damn charitable empire, was doing this. With him. So I did what a petty billionaire does when he's heartbroken and furious. I had David's metafiles pulled. HR flagged him a year ago for inappropriate conduct on an internal VR project. Nothing serious, but enough for a quiet, no-fuss termination. And guess what? The review was handled by Priscilla's friend. A personal friend. Not even in the reporting chain. She cleared him. My wife cleared this guy. So he wouldn't be blacklisted. I had the receipts. Email threads. Slack messages. I wanted to explode. Instead, I planned. The next night, I made her dinner. A replica of our first anniversary meal. Grilled halibut, miso glaze, steamed bok choy. I even opened that overpriced bottle of Burgundy she'd saved from our trip to Lyon. She was surprised. This is sweet. What's the occasion? I smiled and said, just wanted to remind you of what's real. She leaned in, kissed my cheek. It made my skin crawl, because all I could see was her laughing at me behind my back with some failed VR consultant who probably called me a sociopath in bed. I almost told her that night, but I didn't. Not yet. Because the confrontation, that had to be perfect. So I waited. I didn't rage. I didn't scream. I didn't blow up her world like I easily could have. Believe me, the urge was there. One line of code, and I could have wiped David's online existence off the grid. I could have scrubbed his credit, tanked his online reputation, flagged him on every background check for the next decade. But that would have made me the villain in her story. And that's what this whole thing became for me. Control over the narrative. Not on social media, not in public, but in my home. I'd already lost the emotional high ground. I wasn't about to lose the strategic one too. So I crafted the confrontation. I told her I was hosting a small strategy weekend up at the Lake Tahoe house. Just 3 people. Handpicked. No press. No staff. Just innovation and ideas. She said she might stay back. Said she'd been feeling drained. I bet. I smiled. Told her I'd love the space. And kissed her forehead. Then I messaged David. Through a dummy account, of course. I pretended to be a meta recruiter working on a quiet rehiring program for visionary contributors. Said we were considering bringing him back for a confidential think tank. Same weekend. Same house. He replied within an hour. Wow. Was not expecting this. But yeah, I'm free. What's the agenda? I told him it would be mostly big picture stuff, with Mark himself. That it would be casual, high trust, off record. He was ecstatic. Priscilla had no idea. She thought she was free to have her little affair weekend in peace, while I was off playing Tech Messiah in the mountains. The reality? They were walking into my trap. I had the house wired. Cameras in every room, microphones embedded in the new light fixtures. I even rigged the coffee machine to record audio when someone pressed the brew button. And the best part? I wouldn't even be there. Nope. I'd be in Palo Alto, watching from a secure server, waiting for them to realize just how deep the surveillance rabbit hole went. Let's just say, I built the metaverse. You really think I wouldn't build my own revenge simulation? They arrived on a Friday. She told me she was going to visit her aunt in Santa Barbara. I nodded, smiled, even helped her pack the car. I stood there cool, collected, as she loaded a weekend bag that I knew had no toothbrush, but a particular black lace thing she only wore on special occasions. Drive safe, I said, and she kissed me like she meant it. Then she left, and I switched screens. The Tahoe house came alive on my dashboard, multicam, multi-audio. The whole interface looked like something out of a heist movie. But this wasn't Ocean's 11. This was a raw betrayal broadcast in 4K. At 6:13 p.m., David pulled up. She greeted him at the door like a damn rom-com, half laughing, half whispering, arms around his neck, and that stupid whispery voice I once thought was cute. They went inside, poured wine, started cooking. She put on vinyl Fleetwood Mac, of course, and made some joke about how Mark would probably try to NFT this song if he could. They laughed. Then she said something that knocked the wind out of me. He's not even human anymore. He stares at people like they're servers. You ever talk to someone and just feel like they're indexing you in real time? David laughed. He's a billionaire, Chris. He probably sees everyone as latency. She nodded. I married a product roadmap. That one hit hard. Because I did plan everything. I mapped our lives like a release schedule. I thought structure was love. That predictability was security. Turns out, it was just boring. They moved to the couch. Got closer. He kissed her like he owned her. Like she was his. And she kissed him back with this ease that made my stomach twist. And in that moment, I realized. I wasn't watching strangers. I was watching the woman I loved slowly erase me from her heart, one kiss at a time. And I wanted to end it right there. Pull the feed. Nuke the network. Fly a drone through the window if I had to. But I didn't. Because the real show hadn't started yet. See, I didn't just want revenge. I wanted clarity. And the next 48 hours would give me more truth than I ever wanted to hear. Saturday morning, they slept in. I watched them in bed, him spooning her like he'd done it 100 times. Her hair a mess, her phone on the nightstand, my stomach churning. I know it sounds sick. Why watch? Why not just walk away? But here's the thing. I needed to see it. Every lie, every whisper, every look that said, he's not coming back from this. I wanted it seared into memory, so I'd never romanticize her again. At 10:24 a.m., while she was in the shower, David did something stupid. He picked up her phone. Now, I don't know what he was looking for, but he found something and his face changed. Confused. Suspicious. Then he grabbed his phone, opened some encrypted chat app, and sent a screenshot of what looked like a calendar invite. The invite said, MZ Exit Strategy Draft. Folder access granted. That was a fake I planted a week ago. It led to a dummy Google Drive folder titled Prenup Override Confidential with legal docs showing Priscilla working with an anonymous lawyer to restructure marital asset protections, basically. Trying to get a chunk of Meta shares in a potential divorce settlement. It was bogus, of course. But David didn't know that. So now he was spooked. He started going through her messages, some notes, her voice memos. His paranoia kicked in. The best part? While he did that, she was singing in the shower. Totally oblivious. By the time she came out, towel around her chest, he was sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling like a man on the verge of a nervous breakdown. She asked, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Are you playing me?" Boom. Cue the cracks. She denied everything, obviously. Accused him of snooping. Called him paranoid. Said he didn't trust her. Tears, yelling, slammed doors. But the energy had changed. Suddenly, it wasn't lovers on a getaway. It was two liars, both unsure who'd been lying more. And me? I was eating cereal in Palo Alto, watching this soap opera unfold like I paid for it. I didn't expect it to turn this fast, but I wasn't about to stop it. No. This was just part one of the collapse. They were about to implode themselves. All I had to do was keep the cameras rolling. Saturday evening was quiet. Too quiet. They didn't leave the house. Barely spoke. Didn't touch. I watched them move around each other like two disconnected nodes in a dead network. At 6:47 p.m., she sat alone on the deck, scrolling through her phone, glass of wine in hand. He was in the study, probably still trying to decide whether he was being played by her, or if they were both being played by me. Spoiler, it was both. And then I got what I wanted. She made a call to her best friend, Lauren. And even though she stepped outside and whispered, "God bless directional mics," I caught everything. No, I don't think he knows. Not yet. But something's off. He's being weird. Pause. No, David. He's too quiet. And he asked me if I ever actually loved Mark. Another pause. I said yes, obviously, but I don't know, Lore. Sometimes I wonder if I ever really did. I mean, what does love even feel like with someone who tracks his REM cycles? That one stung. I had built a universe from nothing. Gave her a life of freedom, resources, respect. We grew a damn philanthropic empire together. But to her, I was just a system that ran well, not a person. She kept going. Maybe I stayed because I didn't want to lose the version of me that looked good on paper. You know? The doctor who married the genius. The couple that saves the world. Then she said, but it was never sexy. Not like this is. Not like David. That's when I stopped the recording. I didn't need to hear any more. It wasn't just betrayal of the body. It was betrayal of the story. She had rewritten us in her mind. Cast herself as the imprisoned heroine, me as the emotionally robotic jailer, and David as her passionate savior. It was melodramatic, yes, but it was hers. And I was just a side character now. A glitch. I sat in silence for a long time after that. Didn't eat. Didn't scroll. Just stared at the frozen frame of her on the deck, still on the phone, still sipping wine like the world wasn't burning. That's when it clicked. She had already left me. Emotionally. Months ago. Maybe even years. I'd been debugging a ghost. And the man I was before, Mark the husband, the hopeful, the believer, he was deprecated. Time to upgrade. Sunday morning hit different. The Tahoe air looked cold through the cameras. Fog rolling in, no sun, no warmth, like even nature was on edge. Priscilla and David didn't say much over breakfast. She made eggs. He didn't eat. They barely looked at each other. I had broken something. And I don't mean them, I mean me. There was a stillness inside me that morning that didn't feel like numbness. It felt like clarity. Like I'd finally unplugged from some broken simulation of what love is supposed to be. So I did what I always do when I hit a wall. I iterated. Opened a private repo. Created a doc titled Zuck_V2_initiative.md and started writing like a madman. Not code philosophy. Strategy. Not just about relationships. About identity. Love without data is myth. Love without accountability is chaos. People think I'm a robot because I measure everything. But maybe I had to, because the people closest to me were all performing, lying, or hiding. She didn't want a husband. She wanted an audience. At 11 a.m., my internal legal team got a message. I didn't wait for emotion to cloud my next move. I scheduled a full review of our prenuptial structure, began the process of separating shared foundations and joint ventures, and instructed my assistants to pull financial records for all known associates of Priscilla and David. By noon, the next update was in motion. Zuck V2 doesn't confront. He executes. The man who made Facebook didn't just build a platform, he built an ecosystem. And if you think I can't surgically remove two people from my life and my professional orbit with a smile on my face and an NDA in their inbox by Monday, you don't know what version you're dealing with. Meanwhile, they were still playing the game. Still unsure who was watching who. Still thinking they had any control over the narrative. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. I gave them just enough rope. The house. The wine. The false sense of privacy. Let them build their little rebellion on ground I designed pixel by pixel. Now, it was time to let them hang themselves. Monday morning, 6:02 a.m. Tahoe. They woke up cold. The smart thermostat in the house had been disconnected from the app. The lights flickered. The Wi-Fi was down. Her phone showed no service. His wouldn't unlock. A beautiful glass prison, totally isolated. I watched from the control room in Palo Alto, sipping coffee. I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to confront. I simply revoked access. The rental car's GPS? Frozen. The driveway gate? Stuck. The smart fridge? Offline. See, the house wasn't just a house, it was an interface. A demo of the future. And they had the audacity to betray me inside my own creation. That was their first mistake. By 7:10 a.m., she tried calling me from the landline. I left that as a failsafe. I'm not cruel. I let it ring. By 7:15, she tried texting Lauren through her laptop. Too bad the Wi-Fi was still spoofed. Every message she sent, it routed through me, and I let a few go through. just enough to look like lag. But I saw everything. Lauren replied. Wait, what do you mean you're locked in? Why is the fridge flashing red? That was a visual bug I left in on purpose. Psychological warfare has layers. At 8:03 a.m., David finally lost it. He started yelling. Not at her, at the walls. Like the house was haunted. He called me a sociopath tech gremlin. Not bad, honestly. She tried to calm him down. Told him I was just trying to scare them. That I'd cool off. But she didn't know me anymore. Not really. She thought I was still the guy who cared about appearances, who'd never make a scene. She didn't understand that Zuck V2 doesn't make scenes. He clears them. By 10 a.m., my team had delivered a package to the front gate via drone. Inside, 2 burner phones, a notarized document outlining the dissolution of every co-owned asset, a flight itinerary from Reno to anywhere, and a letter. Just one line. Control is not cruelty. It's cleanup. No threats. No drama. Just freedom in a box. By 10:45, the gate unlocked. The car started. The house returned to normal. They left without saying a word. No goodbye. No apology. Just silence. And honestly, it was perfect. Back in Palo Alto, silence hit differently. No texts. No calls. No snarky social media posts. Just ghost mode. They disappeared like they'd never been part of the network. But the real question was, why? Why did it come to this? Why did my perfectly optimized marriage collapse like a buggy beta test? I started scrolling back through old messages, videos, photos, our entire digital life archived in pristine order. There were smiles, yes, but also so many missing packets, moments she erased, lies she rewrote in real time. Priscilla wasn't just bitchy and a liar. She was a master manipulator with the emotional range of a cat meme but the ambition of a startup CEO. She played roles like they were features, the supportive wife, the victim, the secret lover, all while running her own side hustle of deceit. I felt the sting of betrayal not just because she cheated, but because she lied about every part of it. She presented the illusion of love like a well-polished UI. But beneath it? Crashes, bugs, and corrupted files. The hardest part? The loneliness. In a world where I've connected billions, I couldn't connect to the one person who mattered most. So I did what any control freak would do. I locked down my personal data tighter than Fort Knox. Changed passwords. Restricted access. Cut ties with anyone remotely connected to them. If trust was a server, it was permanently offline. And me? I was left with an empty inbox and a shattered operating system called marriage. But if I learned anything, it's this. Sometimes, the biggest betrayal isn't infidelity, it's realizing the person you loved was just a well-coded illusion. It's funny, I always thought relationships were like algorithms. Predictable if you just ran the right code, tweaked the parameters, optimized the system. Turns out, humans don't run on code. They run on chaos, on contradictions, on emotions that defy logic. After the fallout, I tried to run diagnostics on my own heart. What went wrong? Where was the bug? Was I too controlling? Too distant? Or was she just a virus in a perfect system? I spent nights staring at lines of code, and at the same time, replaying memories that felt like corrupted files. The smile she gave me the day we married, the late nights planning projects, the way she'd mock my obsession with data. Was any of it real? I realized I'd been trying to program love when love isn't a program. It's a process, messy and unpredictable. Sometimes it fails. Sometimes it breaks. And sometimes, the only fix is to let go. That was the hardest patch I ever had to apply. No debugging tool, no update, no quick fix. Just acceptance. And maybe, someday, a reboot. Weeks went by like software updates you don't want but can't avoid. Friends asked if I was going to fight for the marriage. Therapists asked if I wanted to work through the trauma. Even my own reflections seemed to ask, reboot or delete? I realized it wasn't just about Priscilla anymore. It was about me, about whether I wanted to stay stuck in the old code base or build something new. I started writing again, not code, but journals, raw, messy thoughts about trust, betrayal, and the kind of love I wanted. The truth? Sometimes the smartest move isn't patching up broken things, but acknowledging when the system's irreparably flawed. I reached out to her once. No response. I sent a message to David, nothing. So I deleted their access. Blocked all communication. It felt cold. Final. But freeing. Because some programs aren't meant to run forever. Sometimes you have to end the process and free up memory for what's next. Looking back, This whole experience feels like the ultimate system crash, unexpected, brutal, and humbling. But crashes teach you things. Trust isn't automatic. It's earned, maintained, and can be wiped out in seconds. I'd assumed ours was unhackable. I was wrong. Control is an illusion. I controlled platforms that shaped billions of lives, yet I couldn't control the one closest to me. People are complex. Sometimes even the ones who say they love you are running hidden scripts with secret agendas. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the only way to truly connect, even if it scares you. Sometimes, walking away is the strongest code you can write. I'm not a perfect husband. Far from it. But I'm a man who learned that even in the digital age, the human heart refuses to be optimized. And honestly, that's okay. So here I am, a man who built a digital empire but lost something deeply personal, love, trust, and the future I thought we had. I'm not a victim. I'm not a villain. Just a guy who learned the hard way that sometimes the hardest code to crack is the one inside your own heart. To anyone out there feeling betrayed, lost, or confused, don't let anyone rewrite your story without your consent. Protect your peace like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. And remember, no algorithm or AI can replace genuine human connection. I'm rebooting, not just my life, but my perspective. I'm choosing to believe in imperfect love, messy, raw, and real. Because if there's one thing I've learned, whether you're a tech visionary or a supervillain in someone else's story, it's this. You're the author of your own script. And sometimes, you have to hit reset to write your best chapter yet.